Hello, parents of adolescents. As a parent myself, I just have to call out our common refrain, and we thought toddlerhood was hard. The duality of the independence and dependence of the teen years keep us on our toes. Life seems to move along at breakneck speed for our kids. Sleep habits are awry, junk and fast foods are the name of the game. You may hear your teen say often, "I'm so stressed," or "I couldn't sleep last night," or "My teacher hates me," or other negative reflections. Anticipation of a test or presentation, auditions, tryouts, a race or performance, or even just having to answer a question in class or figure out where to sit at lunch can make your teen feel sick to their stomach and anxious. Even without a clear stimulus, your teen might begin to avoid certain situations or no longer want to see friends over the weekend. She might have become unusually quiet. He might be teary or angry out of context. Getting out of bed in the morning or going to sleep at night become a constant struggle. Anxiety, generalized or specific fears, blocks out the ability to respond emotionally in a rational manner. Routine situations become threatening, sometimes without any obvious trigger. Interestingly, there is likely more at play here than the reaction to external circumstances in the development of your child's anxiety. There is an interplay between the brain in the head and what has come to be known as the second brain in the gut enteric nervous system, or ENS. The ENS has not just a similar complexity, but also duplicates many of the same actions of the central nervous system, or CNS. Fascinatingly, the ENS pretty much works independently, but in a cooperative relationship with the CNS. Additionally, we've all heard it, we are indeed what we eat. The nutrients in food give our nerve cells and all cells the tools that make them function. On the flip side, a food that lacks nutritional value can undermine that functionality. What we eat can be a significant contributor to an anxiety disorder. More on this in a few minutes. Before we explore this concept, it's useful to understand normal adolescent development, and then we'll go on to how food digestion and the ENS influence anxiety. As a result of the remarkable individuality of adolescent growth, there is no blanket nutritional recommendation for a generic teen. Instead, a wise pediatrician will help guide a teen to eat according to his or her personal growth. As an aside, I will try to use the term energy going forward because the word calories can sometimes be a hot button, and I'd like to reframe your thoughts on the concept. Growth during adolescence requires more energy, protein, vitamins, and minerals than earlier in youth, or generally for adults. However, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg issue, since the intake of too little or too much energy for the biological age and activity level can affect physical growth and development, and physical growth and development help define nutritional needs. Growth spurts and puberty are wrapped up in sexual maturation, also known as biological age. Biological age is a better indicator of nutritional requirements than chronological age because it reflects what's happening physiologically at a given time. Your pediatrician may use Tanner stages to judge maturation from pre-puberty, stage 1, to fully mature, stage 5, to inform her recommendations. Most of the process of maturation ends on average around age 16 for young women and age 21 for young men, although weight gain and bone accumulation continue to occur into late adolescence. I think it's worth stopping for just a second to reflect that it is standard to add weight and body fat, especially for young women. It is a critical aspect of preparing the body for adulthood. Your child's pediatrician can help determine if weight gain isn't appropriate for your child's height and activity level. Generally speaking, percentages of fat and carbohydrates for adolescent daily requirements are similar to adult levels. As puberty arrives and the teen years progress, slightly more protein per kilogram of body weight per day is required to maintain lean muscle. Calcium, iron, vitamin D, and folate are all particularly important during the adolescent years to support bone density, oxygen delivery to cells, and DNA and protein synthesis. All of these are critical to healthy physical development as your teen gets taller and stronger. Psychosocially, young teens begin to be motivated by external influences more than internal motivations. Girls around age 12 and boys a bit later become almost hyper-aware of their peers' choices of activities, likes and dislikes, clothing, food, music, and just about everything else. During normal development, it is common for teens progressively to try on different personalities and preferences as they do the work of becoming independent of their families, and it's not always comfortable. I have often thought of the move from early to late adolescence as the Incredible Hulk years because of the extraordinary growth in every area of being. Physical and cognitive growth and the conflicting desires of fitting in and being an individual often leave the child in turmoil. Their bodies change and feel peculiar. Their level of hunger fluctuates based on growth and activity levels. They want to be like their friends and pointedly often don't want to be informed by their parents anymore. Regular media and social media bombard them with messages about who they should be and how they should look. Add to these the pressures of school, extracurriculars, and fluctuating social relationships. A quote-unquote normal teenager will usually describe feeling anxious or stressed periodically. For most, this is a temporary response to a specific situation. However, clinical anxiety is on the rise among adolescents. Anxiety becomes a diagnosable mental illness when it routinely interferes with daily life. But is anxiety solely a mental illness? As you'll see, the gut produces many of the same mood-stabilizing chemicals that the central nervous system produces. You may be surprised to learn that the gut produces 90% or more of the body's level of serotonin, which is a critical mood regulator. Gut serotonin production is stimulated by gut bacteria, which proliferate based on what you eat. Fascinating studies with germ-free mice demonstrate that anxiety in the mice was calmed when their intestinal tract was populated with good bacteria. In separate studies, mice underwent stress tests in mazes, and swimming in a pool they couldn't escape. The mice whose guts had been populated with good bacteria were able to battle adversity for twice or more of the time of the germ-free mice and the mice which had detrimental bacteria. Other key neurotransmitters are glutamate and gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA. These important neurotransmitters keep each other in balance. Inseparable mood regulators. Glutamate production is stimulated by stress or excitement, whereas GABA has a calming effect. In a healthy body, glutamate is ultimately transformed chemically into GABA, and GABA travels through the energy pathways to become glutamate again. The transformation of glutamate to GABA is dependent on vitamin B6, which can be found in a variety of whole foods. So, a nutritionally sound body is designed to create its own balance between being appropriately reactive to stimulation while also being able to produce calm in its systems. Although the nerves of the ENS appear to have their own independent response to the environment, there is a communication pathway between the gut and the brain. The vagus nerve travels from the brain and branches out such that it touches the major organs and the entire digestive tract, and then loops back up to the brain. This path creates a two-way street of information sharing from the brain to the gut and the gut to the brain. What we think of as a gut feeling is this rotating signaling. A fight or flight stress reaction can be triggered by external environmental stimuli to the central nervous system. A paper due, joining a new team for practice, being invited on a date, etc. The message is then sent via the vagus nerve to the gut. Various other physiological reactions take place, such as the release of cortisol, which streamlines energy delivery to the brain and muscles. Here's where we begin to see some of the early nutritional aspects of anxiety. Stress has been shown to alter the gut microbiome, destroying the health-promoting bacteria and leaving the digestive system open to the proliferation of harmful bacteria, which can lead to inflammation of the gut. Conversely, an unhealthy, inflamed gut created by poor eating and living habits, can stimulate a negative mood. The unhappy gut sends excited signals from excessive glutamate, a lack of serotonin and dopamine, and inflammatory chemicals up the vagus nerve to the brain, triggering a persistent, generalized feeling of anxiety. Additionally, gut inflammation stimulated by stress can lead to intestinal permeability, more commonly known as leaky gut. Stress sends a signal that the body must be on high alert. This turns on the immune system, which sends inflammatory chemicals into the gut so that it's prepared for invading bacteria, viruses, and other non-self invaders. The inflammation causes the normally tight junctions between the cells of the intestines to loosen to allow for best access for the immune response. Tight junctions along the intestinal tract are like the saying, "Good fences make good neighbors." Only molecules that have been properly broken down can be absorbed by the intestinal lining and processed by the liver, and molecules that should stay in the intestinal tract don't pass through. Loose junctions allow the inappropriate passage of these particles. Now consider the lives of our adolescents. As their independence grows, they have more of their own money and then spend more time away from home. Teens commonly become significantly more in charge of their food. Peer pressure and the media have great influence on what teens choose to eat, and perhaps the hunger stimulated by a growth spurt makes quick, ready-made, easy-to-carry, energy-dense processed foods that much more appealing. Chips, sodas, candies, cookies, fast food meals, lattes, and ice cream all sing their irresistible siren songs. The strong flavors, the social encouragement, and the ease of access make these foods extremely appealing. Eating these foods push vegetables and fruit not just to the back burner, but sometimes off the stove entirely. Thanks to busy schedules and misinformation, it's common for teens to have irregular eating habits, such as skipping meals, eating snacks instead of real food, and participating in fad diets. Blended with the stress inherent in most teen lives, there's a perfect storm of poor nutrition and environmental influence to promote clinical anxiety. Here are some thoughts to consider. A high-fat diet has been shown to lead to leaky gut by depleting the levels of immune-responsive eosinophils. Eosinophils are best known for their role in allergies. Rather than contributing to a leaky gut through inflammation, though, high-fat diets reduce the amounts of these protective immune bodies. Consider the levels of fat to be found in fast food meals, French fries, movie popcorn, and chips of all kinds. Antibiotics are a valuable tool when necessary. However, antibiotics are fairly indiscriminate in that they will destroy the good with the bad. Our health thrives when the good bacteria are dominant and suffers when the bad bacteria have room to grow. Adolescents often already have had many courses of antibiotics by the time they reach the teen years. It's common that antibiotics are prescribed as acne treatments, as well as for bacterial infections, such as bacterial sinusitis. It is well known, among women anyway, that a course of antibiotics can lead to a vaginal yeast infection. It is also well known that yeast grows when fed sugar. Less well known is that yeast can also grow in the gut. Repeated courses of antibiotics, especially paired with a diet high in sugar, can lead to an overgrowth of yeast in the gut. Yeast will interfere with the absorption of nutrients from food, and any infection, such as a yeast infection, irritates the surrounding tissue, thereby stimulating inflammation. Picture the sodas, juice, sports and coffee drinks especially, and also candy, donuts, flavored yogurts, ice cream, and sugary cereals. Note that recent evidence indicates that yeast overgrowth in the gut can interfere with nutritional mental health treatments, such as medicinal use of vitamins and minerals. Less common in the general population, but still important to review, are celiac disease and food allergies or sensitivities. Celiac disease destroys the lining of the intestinal tract and is caused by an immune response to gluten found in wheat, barley, rye, and sometimes oats. It can be found not only in bread, but commercial products from soy sauce to salad dressing. Additionally, a molecule called zonulin regulates the permeability of our intestinal tract. In celiac disease, the body overproduces zonulin, causing the junctions to become unusually loose. Celiac sufferers must avoid gluten completely to stop damaging their guts. Food allergies and sensitivities similarly stimulate the immune system, which releases inflammatory chemicals to battle perceived invaders. Not unrelated, a leaky gut can make food allergies and sensitivities more likely, as large particles of foods manage to pass the intestinal tract without being properly digested. The immune system attacks them, thereby setting up future immune responses to the food. A food allergy creates a specific hypersensitive response that can be life-threatening, much like a bee sting can be. A food sensitivity, however, is a persistent irritant to the system and does not stimulate an allergic reaction. Luckily, there are accessible nutritional treatments that can contribute to a healthy gut functioning and help ease anxiety. Broths made with the meat and bones, even the heads and feet of chickens or heads of fish, are rich in healing amino acids, minerals, and collagen. These actually do the repair work on the cells which line the intestinal tract and are easy to digest. Adding bone broth to the start of meals can reduce inflammation and help the gut to start to work properly again. Vitamin B6 works very closely in concert with protein molecules, vitamin B12, and folic acid in the creation of neurotransmitters, the transformation of glutamate to GABA, and to allow neurotransmitters to function properly. Add a variety of vegetables, fruits, grains, and protein sources into your teens' meals in order to provide the necessary nutrients for the ENS to function at peak performance. Vitamin D has been shown in myriad studies to support the immune system and be anti-inflammatory. If your child isn't in the sun for at least 15 minutes a day, supplement with a minimum of 600 international units, which is the RDA for teenagers, in order to help heal gut inflammation. It is possible for your pediatrician to test for vitamin D levels, if you're interested. Many teens will benefit from supplementing with 1,000 to 2,000 international units a day. However, it is important not to take more than the tolerable upper limit, or UL, of 4,000 international units a day. Populating your teen's gut with good bacteria can help improve her mood and cognitive ability. These neurotransmitters travel either through circulation or up the vagus nerve from the gut, and they have measurable positive effects on mood. One study showed that rats taking probiotics were less likely to have leaky guts also. This prevented the harmful loop of pro-inflammatory bacteria leaking into the system and simulating a stress response in the CNS, which then leads to further gut permeability and around and around. Eating meals filled with whole foods is always a better choice than taking a supplement. Add these into your meals, any of these probiotic-rich offerings, daily. Fiber in foods can be either soluble or insoluble. Insoluble fiber creates bulk and provides a scrubbing mechanism that not only helps move food through the intestinal tract, but also helps refresh the intestinal lining by removing old cells and exposing new, healthy cells. Soluble fiber absorbs water, making kind of a gel. Both improve nutrient absorption and lead to a healthier gut. Fiber can be found in whole fruits and vegetables. Eat them with the skin whenever possible. Whole grains and nuts, seeds, beans, and legumes. Prebiotic foods stimulate the growth of good bacteria from the soluble fiber in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, flax, and inulin. The bacteria actually eat these foods and proliferate. Serve something from the list of foods on the screen more than once daily, and you will be assured of also feeding the trillions of good bacteria in your teen's digestive system. The more good bacteria there are, the less room there is for the bad bacteria, and the more cushion your teen will have when he encounters a stressful situation. Omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatory. Even more exciting is that studies are beginning to show that they too can help restore healthy gut bacteria. Omega-3 fatty acids can be found in oily fish such as wild salmon, mackerel, sardines, albacore tuna, and rainbow trout, as well as in nuts and seeds such as flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, pecans, and pine nuts. A great reference that is useful for the whole family is a Harvard School of Public Health's Healthy Eating Plate. Taking a page from the USDA MyPlate graphic, the Healthy Eating Plate gives a more accurate depiction of how to eat for best overall health. I have posted this graphic on my own refrigerator where the whole family can see it and absorb the message. I've included it in my handout to make it easier for you later. Along with nutritional interventions, consider lifestyle interventions, which also have proven anti-stress benefits. Thank you for your time. Please refer to the handout for useful resources and a review of important points from this talk.